First 3 months of 2025, 259 farms in the United States filed for bankruptcy, exceeding the total number of farm bankruptcies for all of 2024. This marks the highest number of filings since 2021, according to the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture.
Not sure if you've seen this, but more U.S. farms have filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of this year than they did in all of 2024. Now, you might be sitting here saying, well, I'm not a farmer, I don't live in a rural community, so why in the hell should I care? This trend is going to affect all of us, and here's how. This is going to result in higher grocery prices. It's also going to result in corporations taking over, right? Big ag taking over. And we know what happens when big corporations take over. Less quality, higher prices. It's also going to make us even more dependent on foreign food sources. At a time when President Trump is increasing tariffs for no reason and with no clear plan. So again, all of this is going to affect food prices, which will then lead to higher cost of living, which will then lead to inflation. So much for helping the working class, right?
There's white conservative people going bankrupt over all this, and they need the immigrants. So if you are one of them people that thinks this is a good idea to be getting rid of immigrants, 259 farmers have gone bankrupt. 259 farms have gone bankrupt. And that is more than every year individually, as a whole, since 2021, just in 3 months. Some people are buying that land, but it ain't Americans.
Greetings everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So what happens when the very people who grew America's food are forced to shut down? It's happening, and it's happening fast. In just the first 3 months of 2025, more US farms have filed for bankruptcy than in the entire year of 2024. Why? Because of policies that were cheered by the same people now suffering the consequences. Today, we dive deep into how Trump's immigration crackdown and economic tariffs are backfiring and why this may be just the beginning of a national food crisis. Let's dive into it.
I wanted to let you know that I appeared on News Nation this morning to talk about the overwhelming increase in farmer bankruptcies this year in the United States of America. Already this year, since President Trump took office, we've had more farmer bankruptcies under Section 12 than we had in the entire year in 2024. This is being caused by a lot of the policies that President Trump passed, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to these bankruptcies. Now, a lot of you may not know that Chapter 12 bankruptcy was actually originally created for farmers and fishermen in order for them to reorganize debt when they ran into difficult financial times. That's happening a lot lately due to very specific policies on the part of the president. First, you have the tariffs. The tariffs have been on again and off again for quite some time. I just read this morning and it blew my mind that there have been over 132 different iterations of the Trump tariff policy that's been put out there to the American public and the rest of the world since his inception when he first came into office. Think about that. 130 plus versions of the tariff plan for this country. You ask yourself the question, how can any other country or how can any commodity organization in the United States of America plan around that lack of planning? It's very, very difficult to do. It's caused other countries to throw tariffs onto the United States of America, which have cost us overseas markets, not only in row crops, but also in beef. And the problem is getting worse and worse. The second issue that we face in row cropping is that the break-even price right now for a commodity like corn is around $4 a bushel. And that price of corn has been dipping down below and a little bit above that per bushel price needed to break even for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, the price of corn was somewhere around $3.80 a bushel, which was below break even. Right now, it's anywhere from $4.05 to $4.25, depending on how far you look out to December. But the bottom line is this. There aren't going to be massive profits on row crops this year due to the president's tariff policies, leading to a reduction in the amount of markets out there for commodities like corn, soybeans, etc. And this again,
You know, the Texas economy has always been one of the strongest and most resilient economies in the United States. Texas is definitely an economic powerhouse. Well, the warning bells are going off in Texas. What they're seeing right now is a pullback from consumers. The consumer confidence level is way in the deep red in the state of Texas. This is starting to affect people's spending habits. Even the Texas supermarket chain H-E-B, which is a huge giant there in Texas, they are reporting slower sales, and they're saying people are cutting back, even trading down on products that they bought to cheaper brands, because they are having to cut back. And this is leading to workers getting less hours. And this is not just at grocery stores. This is at fast food restaurants. This is at hotels. And this is also at major factories there. There's a lot of food production factories in Texas, such as Tyson Foods and Treehouse Foods. They both have closed plants, eliminating thousands of jobs, which goes down the line and affects everyone. So Texas, with one of the world's best economies, is now the warning bells are showing. Texas is going to feel it just like everyone else does.
In the first 3 months of this year, we've had 259 farm bankruptcies, and that's more than every year total since 2021. More in 3 months than we've had in any full year since 2021. There's one thing. Number two, when the tariffs towards the beginning decided to affect farmers, and in the middle of planting season, fertilizer went up like to an ungodly amount, that was two. And then delaying a farm bill, that's three. Time I look in to who benefits from all of this, and when I was looking into what HR 1 was going to do to farmland and so on and so forth, can somebody explain to me why all roads lead to Bill Gates? And then why do all roads lead to him being invested in everything that would benefit what JD Vance is doing? Can someone explain that to me? On top of this, Bill Gates is one of the people who's been benefiting from the Inflation Reduction Act as far as greenwashing goes. You know what the greenwashing did? We lost a ton of farmland. That's what happened. Everything the government has done since 2017 has destroyed farmland, and we've sold it off on the cheap. And China bought a bunch of it. Isn't that fun? So, hey, America, if you decide to give a damn about your farmers and you start calling about your farmers, it might slow the immigration train. We might stop having people who feed us go bankrupt. Those are two good things. Yeah, two good things. I don't know what all this bullshit's about, but when I saw how many farm bankruptcies there have been, and right now is harvesting season for a lot of things, it has been. So like, you tell me why they're ramping that up. What reason would there be right now during harvest season, especially since POTUS said in a cabinet meeting they were going to make sure they had everybody they needed in farms, and these people had green cards. So yeah.
This isn't just about farmers losing land, it's about the collapse of an entire system. These aren't isolated incidents. These are warning signs for the entire country. No farmers means no food. It's that simple. Let's be honest. America's agricultural system has always relied on immigrant labor. Deporting the very workers who harvest our food doesn't just hurt the farm, it hurts the nation. These policies may have sounded tough on TV, but they've created a crisis on the ground. And guess who's waiting to buy the land? Big corporations. They don't care about quality, sustainability, or communities. They care about profit. And that means higher prices, lower standards, and no accountability. Here's a hard truth. Many of these farmers voted for the very man who promised these crackdowns, and now they are paying the price. Some say it's karma, others say it's tragic, but I say it's a lesson. Elections have consequences, especially when policy meets reality.
There's stories all over the internet about farmers going bankrupt across the country. And I want you to know, I want to feel sorry for you. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to care at all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because typically I have empathy, but I'm really, really tired of telling you farmers and you people that are in rural parts of the United States, I'm tired of telling you what your vote does to you. Yeah, I mean, you guys in the red states, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're broke. You don't have any money. West Virginia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, you get my point. You're broke. And yet you keep voting for the Republican Party that wants nothing to do with you. And farmers, guess what? You're included. But you keep voting red, and now you want me to feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. I just can't.
The University of North Arkansas did a recent study because farmers are filing for Chapter 12 bankruptcy at an alarming rate. There's a lot of things that are driving that. And before you say, I told you so, they all voted for it, it's going to hurt us too. So, just so you can own the red hats, isn't necessarily the greatest way to look at this, because it's going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt a lot of people that really cannot afford to have it hurt them. So here's what's going on in the farm world and why they're filing bankruptcy. And this is not just small independent, this is moderate, this is larger farms. The cost to manufacture the items or grow the goods is gone up. So seeds, fertilizers, stakes, workers is all increasing. And the workers, there's a lack of them because of the indiscriminate raids that have been going on. But it's not just the farm workers, it's also the packaging facilities. So all of those things that the farmer grows goes to packaging facilities to end up in our grocery store. And they've been raiding both farms and those facilities. So we have a downturn of employees to process things. So it's a problem. The secondary offset is that every season they take out loans to finance the current season. And the loans are between 7 and 9% interest, which is direct impact because of inflation is why those loans are higher. But also the CFPB has been repealed, and therefore, you don't have bank regulations as much before as the consumer protection situation. Then the marketplace, the commodities. So when you finish making your farming items, the price to sell them is low. So they're not recouping their funds at the end of the season. And that is a problem because they're not being able to pay off the loans. All of those are going to lead to one or two things. We're going to have a shortage because there's going to be less of them out there producing for us. And two, the costs are going to go up because of all of the items that I just listed. So this is a direct impact of who we currently have in office and a lot of the policies he's put in place. But it is going to hurt us at the grocery store. And that's the bigger problem.
55%. That's the rate that American farmers have been declaring bankruptcy over and above last year. 55% more bankruptcies of American farmers. And it's the conditions, the economic conditions that are contributing to it. A lack of a workforce, a lack of labor, tariffs, the whole 9 yards. Everything this administration has done is contributing to these people losing everything. They're losing the farm, right? So why is this important? Why should you care? Well, what happens when a family declares bankruptcy is that their property is sold in a sheriff's auction to satisfy creditors. So they lose their property. It's fire sailed. And, you know, if they've got a $1 million loan on the 1,000 acres they got, and they get $500,000 for the property, well, they're on the hook for another $500,000. We're talking about generations that have farmed land, that have been farmers their entire lives, losing everything because they can't sell a product overseas. I mean, most of our corn and grain is sold to other countries, and the tariffs are making it more expensive than other options. So they can't sell what they've farmed for decades or centuries. So what's the end run here? Why is this happening? Well, my speculation is that there's large, massive farming operations out there, very large corporations that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres. For example, the King Ranch. And 25 years ago, they had 1 million acres and several 100,000 head of cattle. And they're looking to expand. So how do you expand cheaply? Well, what you do is you get somebody to pass legislation that's going to make family farms file bankruptcy. And then instead of giving them fair market value for it, you can just buy the land in foreclosure. So, well, out of bankruptcy. So that's the end run here. That's what all these policies are doing, is simply gutting family farmers to allow corporations to get farmland cheaply.
This farm crisis isn't just about politics, it's about survival. When the people who feed the country go under, everyone suffers. Food insecurity, higher prices, corporate farming are now the new reality. And while some may say they got what they voted for, we have to ask, how many more livelihoods must collapse before Americans start thinking beyond slogans? This is bigger than one man. This is about the future of food in America. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are we heading into a food crisis that could have been prevented? Thank you so much for your time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.